Today at the clinic, someone's brought in a litter of puppies for them all to be health checked, and I thought I'd just like to show you what's involved in a health check for a puppy, what kind of things we're looking for, because a lot of them, you guys at home, if you're going to pick up a new puppy, can check for yourselves and see if there might be a problem. So I have this little willing volunteer here, a little 4-week-old crossbreed, and we're going to have a little look and see what we find. So with the exam, we tend to start at the front end and move to the back of the puppy. So looking at the ears, do they have a discharge? Very small discharge in there, but if that's a lot of brown in there, could imply that there's an ear mite problem. That wouldn't be too much of an issue because it would be easy to treat. So coming on down, looking at the eyes, do they have a discharge? Do they look the same on both sides? How are our eyelids? Do they look a good shape? Is the conformation of the eye good? Do the eyelids work okay? Not always as a puppy is that eyelid conformation going to stay, so sometimes when they get older the eyelids will change shape, but it can give you a good idea now if they look terrible, but that these look all right. Down onto the nose, do we have any kind of discharge coming out? Nope, that's absolutely fine. So moving on, really important area is the mouth, and there's a couple of things we're looking for. The first one is what we call the bite. So do the teeth line up, all right? You can see the top and the bottom jaw, all right, pop it, line up there, and that's how it should be. There are certain breeds that have an overbite or an underbite, and that will be normal for the breed, but in general, most dogs, those teeth should line up. The other thing that we look for in the mouth, if you'll let me have a little look, is the top of the palate, all right? So that palate should be entire, there shouldn't be any kind of hole there or cleft. That's something that's usually picked up at a very young age, rather than at the point that you might be collecting the puppy, but we always check it, all right? Coming on down, feel underneath the neck, check there's no problem with the lymph nodes, generally just check that the legs and the body feels all right, that she can stand okay, and then another really important area, and actually there's a problem here on this puppy, is we check them for a hernia. So I don't know if you guys can see, but there's a little bulge here that moves in and out, and that's a hernia, which is a kind of a weakness or a hole in the muscle there that can form. It's not always a problem. I mean, really big ones, a bit of gut could go in there and get twisted off, and that can be a real issue, but in most animals it doesn't cause any problems, and it's fixed when they're neutered. And that's the really important thing with a hernia, is we probably should neuter those animals because it's a congenital problem, it's hereditary, it will pass on, so they shouldn't really be bred from. So if you're planning on breeding from an animal, really important to check there's no hernia there. And then moving on further back, just check the tummy feels all right. And then we have a little look at the genitals, that they're all okay. In a boy dog, we'd obviously be looking to see if both the testicles have descended, and if they haven't, there's a problem there. And again, they shouldn't be bred from, and then they require neutering. Mostly by the time you guys are picking them up, 8-10 weeks of age, they should have dropped by that point. Not always, but mostly. The last thing that we do here is just check that the heart's okay and that there's no sign of any murmur. It's not something you guys can do, but the first health check that they get at the vet is something they'll check for. And other than the hernia, this puppy's absolutely fine. All right, so that's what's involved in a puppy check, and I hope you find that helpful.